Hi all, this is Dr. Lim Chen Kim. I'll be doing a short recording about the Chapter 5 sound for the subject of MMM1023. So this is the overview of this chapter: Introduction to Sound, Digital Audio, MIDI Audio, MIDI versus Digital Audio, Recording and Editing Digital Audio, the audio file format, and how do you add sound to the multimedia project. So vibration in the air creates the wave of pressure that perceive and what we call them as sound. So sound wave varies in sound pressure level. When it varies, we will say there is a changes in amplitude or frequency. Frequency is also known as pitch. So amplitude refers to the loudness. Talking about frequency, a bat can actually detect up to 120,000 hertz of frequency. So if you were to look at the wave graph, so you have pressure over time, and if the frequency of the pressure is higher, which means that the pitch is higher. So acoustic is the branch or is a study about sound through physics. So if we were to say psychoacoustic, which means that you add psychological factors into the sound. Sound pressure levels in terms of loudness or volume are measured in decibels. Digital audio data is actual representation of sound stored in the form of samples. Samples represent the amplitude of sound at a discrete point in time. The quality of digital recording depends on the sampling rate, or we call that as frequency, that is the number of samples taken per second. So actually, if you have higher frequency of the wave, it is correspondent to higher frequency or pitch. The three sampling frequency most frequently used in multimedia are the 3D quality 44.1 kHz, 22.05 kHz, and 11.025 kHz. The number of beats used to describe the amplitude of sound wave when sampled determines the sample size. So as you can see over here, if you were to see in terms of this wave, original waveform, it might be actually low or medium frequency because the period between the wave is actually quite wide. So when you collect a sample data, it is actually represented by dot, and then when you transfer it into for instance iMovie or Movie Maker, you'll be able to see the sampling frequency like that. And sometimes when we have noise, the waveform might not be as equal as this original waveform, so you might want to reconstruct the waveform to give a different pitch over time. Digital audio is device independent. So when you were doing your second assignment, Audacity is independent. You can do a separated voice recording that is mounted onto your video. The value of each sample is rounded off to the nearest integer, which this process we call them as quantization. The crucial aspects of preparing digital audio files are balancing the need for sound quality against available RAM and hard disk resources. So you must know how much storage you have in order to keep how much data of high quality sound. And setting appropriate recording levels to get a high quality and clean recording. So if you have a lot of environmental noise that is influencing your recording, we might not be having a good quality recording. And also sometimes talking about balancing of sound, if you want to do an effect of the sound is coming from exact one place, you can actually pull the slider, the choices of slider to one left, to the utmost left, and then the sound will only coming out from the left hand side and vice versa. I can give you an example, like for instance in digital heritage, when we talk about adding sound into the digital heritage. We call it as acoustic heritage. So like in a mosque, when the imam says something, and then there are a lot of prayers that are maybe gathering outside of the mosque because there's not enough space. So actually the people who are outside of the mosque might receive slightly slower by 1 or 2 seconds that the message is transferred by the imam. So we might want to do a study about if we were to put more microphone or more speaker at the corner of the mosque, the heritage mosque, then which means that all the prayers can listen to the command of the imam at the same time. Once a recording has been completed, it almost always need to be edited, because like now I'm doing a recording for you all, not the first time I can get all the slides done, so I might be wanting to record like into 3 sections. Let's say I have 30 slides, so I'll stop at each 10 slides, and after that I'll combine them and share it out as one file. At the same time, sometimes I manage to do all the recording in one single file, but in between I guess that it is too lengthy with my own explanation. I might want to do a little trimming or splicing it or separating the recording and then delete the middle part that I do not want. So you can actually do any adjustment that you like. As you can see in the screenshot in Audacity, there are a lot of effects template that you can actually have. You can amplify, you can do auto dark, you can do bass boost, change of speech speed or tempo, or you can do some removal or compressor effects as you like. The next slide is about additional available sound editing operation that includes the format conversion, resampling, downsampling. You can do a fade-in, fade-out effects, equalization. You can scratch your waveform so that you have a slower speech, and you can do any other digital signal processing or reversing the sound. From female sound, you can reverse into a male sound and so on. Or maybe I say A, B, C until Z, and then you might want to reverse back from Z until A. So the audio resolution determines the accuracy with which sound can be digitalized. The size of monographic digital recording is through this calculation, depending on your sampling rate times how much bit of resolution that you choose over 8-bit maximum, and times 1 because it's monophonic. So the same equation is used for determining the size of stereo recording if you were to times with 2, because stereo means 2 side. Okay, MIDI we have always mentioned even in an overview of this chapter. So MIDI actually stands for musical instrument digital interface. So for instance, if I'm a composer, I would like to have multiple instruments, but at the end I want to keep it as only one recording. So there is this MIDI option for us to do so. So MIDI does not record the waveform, it records the performance information required for the computer chip to play the music. MIDI files have a .mid file extension, so usually we will use like a .wave, .mp3, and then .mid. If you get a .mid, which means that the music or the sound is actually created through MIDI. The file is actually quite small than your normal audio file. Since they are small, MIDI files embedded in web pages load and play promptly. So usually when you see some sound file, you search for a lyrics, and then on top of it, it will come like together with a play button for you to listen to the music. It is usually done in MIDI files because it is smaller in size, so it's easier for us to load it from the web pages, and also it's easier for us to play. The length of a MIDI file can be changed without affecting the pitch or the music or degrading the audio quality. So when it comes to digitalization of the audio, usually there is no degrading of quality, just the same as if you were to have a video and then you want to burn it into another piece of video through a number of a CD, the grade or the quality of the audio remain the same. So, but however, if you want to work with MIDI, you must have prior knowledge in music theory because you have to deal with a few instruments. So this is a sample of Sibelius platform. So you can see a note over here, but you have a keyboard to play with, and also you have like the acoustic guitar to play with. Then you can combine these two music and load it as a MIDI file. Okay, so MIDI in shorthand representation of music stored in a numeric form. Again, it is not a digitized sound. A sequencer, software, and sound synthesizer are required in order to create the MIDI score. MIDI is device dependent, so it is very much dependent on the musical instrument. MIDI is also analogous to structure of vector graphic, while digitized audio is analogous to bitmap and images. MIDI is device dependent, while digitized audio is device independent. MIDI files are much smaller than digitized file. MIDI files sounds better than digitized audio file when played on high quality MIDI device because it has multiple instruments to aid, and also it is our own recording. It's actually combination of the selection of multiple instruments through a digital file. So with MIDI, it is difficult to play back spoken dialogue, while digitized audio can do so with ease. Usually when we do recording like an interview, or maybe I'm reporting a news, so I'll use digitized audio because I still want to do editing, the playback. Okay, but with MIDI, it's more of like it's best to use when you are composing music. So MIDI does not have consistent playback quality, while digital audio provides consistent playback quality. One requires knowledge of music theory in order to run MIDI, while digital audio does not need this requirement, just like at your level, all of you are using digital audio instead of MIDI. So moving on to the next subchapter about recording and editing digital audio. System sounds are assigned to various system events such as startup and burning, among others. So even in our handphone also, we have a quite standard ringing tone when you send an SMS, when you have a WeChat or WhatsApp messages. So the template of choices of sound are there. Of course, you can change from time to time, but usually we are just using the default one. Macintosh provides several system sound options such as glass, indigo, laugh. Or this is in Mac. In Windows, of course, it provides the start, chimes, and chord. Multimedia sound is either digitally recorded in audio or in MIDI. So it's either these two options. So this is a screenshot from Mac. There's built-in sound alert, so you can choose which one that you like. So you can also adjust the loudness, and also you can adjust the output of the volume. Talking about the audio file format, it is a recognized methodology for organizing data bits of digitized sound into a data file. So on Mac, we usually use applications such as .aiff. Windows, digitized sounds are usually stored in the .wav file format. So the CD-ROM or extended architecture CD-ROM formats enable several recording sessions to be placed on a single CD if it's recordable. So sometimes if you see R and W, which means you can read and write, Linear pulse code modulation is used for readbook audio data files on consumer-grade music CD. MP3 is usually compression file format. MP4 is also used together when you have audio and video are streamed together. ACC is used when is used by Apple iTunes Store. The file formats compatible with multimedia authoring software being used along with delivered mediums and must be determined. Sound playback capabilities offered by end-user system and must be studied. The type of sounds, whether background music, special sound effect, or spoken dialogue, must be first decided. So from beginning, you must already have planning what you want to do to your audio file. MIDI data should be selected on the basis of the location and the time of use. So you can actually create or purchase the source material. You can edit the sound that fit to your project. You can test the sound also just to be sure that they are timed properly. Like if I say 5 minutes a video clip, and then your sound might be shorter than 5 minutes. So professional sound. Compression technique reduce space, but reliability suffers because when we compress, maybe there will be certain missing data. When I say missing data, it might be really minor missing data. So if you have the original raw file, you might be able to hear something other than just me commenting like that. It might be having a clearer background sound and giving you an impression about my environment. Space can be observed by downsampling or reducing the number of sample slices taken per second. So the higher sample size that you have per second, the quality of the sound might be greater, but that would make your file size really huge and it's difficult to upload and play back. File size of digital recording in bytes. This is the calculation again, is sampling rate times the duration of recording in seconds times how many bits of resolution per 8 bits times the number of tracks that you want to do. So, recording on inexpensive media rather than directly to disk prevents the hard disk from being overloaded with unnecessary data. The project's equipment and standard must be in accordance with the requirement. It is vital to maintain a high-quality database that stores the original sound material. So like I told you earlier, if your video is really very small, there's no need for you to buy a really good DVD. You just buy a DVD of size that is slightly higher than the size of your file. So keeping track of your sound, you can keep it through the audio CD, or you can upload it to the internet, or also you can keep it in your mobile. So when you're doing recording for this kind of audio, you have to see whether are you using it for CD playback, or are you using it for mobile playback, or you're using it for internet playback. If it's so, maybe the mobile and internet one, you might want to keep a minimal size of your audio file. So again, this is a screenshot from the Mac user. So in Mac, usually we use the QTVR, or we call it as a time plugin. Sound and image synchronization must always be tested, especially when it comes to dubbing of voices. So let's say today I have no sound, so but you want to do a video recording of me, so I'll open and close my mouth. But when tomorrow I have sound and then you do an audio recording of me, your sound and video must be matched and synchronized properly with the shape of my mouth. So sometimes when you go to concert, the artist doesn't sing from beginning of the concert until end of the concert. Certain songs she actually needs to perform a very exhaustive dance, so she might be doing some lip sync. So the speed at which most animation and computer-based videos play depends on user CPU. The sound RAM requirement as well. The user's playback setup must be evaluated. Copyright material should not be recorded or used without securing appropriate rights from the owner or the publisher. So like for instance, the current slides that I have are from the previous lecturer, and the previous lecturer actually extracted it from 2011 McGraw-Hill Company, so we need to acknowledge that this slides is from them. But for your video recording, like I say, I don't expect you to screen like the copyright on the frame of your video, because I say that it should be the ratio of 16:9, so just maximize the entire screen. So these are the summary you can read through. It's a repetition of what has been mentioned earlier. And ignore about this quiz because I'm not using this for your actual quiz. I think that's all. Thank you.